Hi everyone, I've been having some questions about how I do my watercolor sketches in my sketchbook, my travel watercolor sketches. So I'm just going to give you a quick little demo here and hopefully you'll get a pretty good idea of how I do it. So all I have is my sketchbook, and this one is called Handbook Sketchbook. I got it in a 3-pack, I think on dickblick.com. I'll put a link in the blog notes to it, and I like it because the paper is pretty thick and it also has quite a few pages in it, and it has a nice hard cover. See that black thing? That's the hard cover. So anyway, it's obviously not as thick as watercolor paper. You can get watercolor sketchbooks, but they're not my favorite. So anyway, you just have to be a little more careful when you're watercoloring on this, but it gives you a little bit more leeway than a thin page. And then I have my pocket watercolor set. This one is a Winsor Newton set, and I'll put a link to it in the blog notes as well. And I'll probably also put a link. I found some comparison of pocket watercolor sets, and you can look at that. And if you're interested in buying one, that'll give you some good ideas. And then my water brush, which is just this paintbrush that holds water in the handle. I don't know if you can see that water moving around. And when you want water, you just squeeze this little end, and you get water out of it. And this one, the brand is Curatate with a K. And I like it pretty well. I had a different brand before that was cheaper, and I didn't like that one. But I also found a blog post that someone did comparing those. So I'll put a link to that in the notes as well. So anyway, that's what I'm using. And I also have some paper towel in here. So, and I have this drawing, as you can see, and I'm going to paint it. Yeah. So here we go. I usually start out with the skin. I don't know why. No reason. You can start out wherever you want. And I mix the color, which you totally can't see in this. I'm going to try zooming out. Alright, so I mixed the color. I really don't know how well you'll be able to see this all, but do my best to fit it all in the shot. So if you can't see something, suck it up. Alright, so I mixed the color, what I want for the skin, and with watercolor, the lighter you want something, the more water you put in it. And the darker you want something, the less water you put in it. So I'm just going to mix this. Okay, so since this paper isn't watercolor paper, it tends to soak up the paint really fast and dry really fast. So you don't have as much room to kind of soften edges and stuff. But I like to kind of go in and start with the pieces of the skin that are usually more red, like the nose and fingers, maybe the chin. And then I'll blend that around after. So now I have to stop talking to do it. If you can see. I get my hand over here. Okay. And then I clean off my brush by squeezing water through it, and then I go in and blend these. She doesn't have a splotchy face. And I'm cleaning off my brush again. And don't be afraid to kind of get the watercolor into the hair and clothes and things, because that's gonna give you a good, I don't know, blending effect. Make everything look like it works together rather than little pieces of color here and there, like a coloring book. You don't want it to look like that. Unless you do, then do it. So there's her face. It looks really red in my painting. I don't know if that shows up in the video. And the fingers. A little bit more gold to that. So you can see the paint on the palette. It looks pretty dark, but it's really soupy. There's a lot of water in there. So it's not going to come out that dark on my picture. Okay, so you get that done. Like I said, it looks kind of reddish, but just leave it alone. If you try to work into the wet paper, you're going to just dig yourself into a hole in the paper. That goes for watercolor paper too, but this paper is thinner, so it's even more likely to happen. So from there, I'll just pick something else to work on, usually something that doesn't touch those wet areas. So you want to pick the hair, but I think I'm going to work on parts of her dress now. So I'm going to go in and paint some of the darker areas. So I usually have in my mind where the light and shadow is coming from. And when I go put the color in, I put it on the shadow side first because it's not going to blend through a lot. And I'm always cleaning out my brush before I blend any of the colors in. So it's basically just taking a wet brush with just water on it and blending. So the face isn't completely dry yet, but it's not as wet as it was, so I'm going to go ahead and work into the hair. Mix that color, which you can't see in the video. Sorry. I usually don't have my watercolor paints right next to where I'm working. There's usually room for my hand, but I was hoping you guys would be able to see everything I'm doing. See, I just kind of did that in the shadow areas. I'm going to go blend this in. To the lighter areas. So that's not as dark as we want the hair yet, but it's a good beginning. I'm going to try working into the dress a little bit. Gonna make it red. Put that in and blend it. Leaves it a little bit darker on the one side. Usually with this paper it's hard to get a soft edge because it dries so quickly, but that's okay. So I think you're getting the idea now. Basically I just keep building that up, doing that over again, letting it dry in between. Then I'll add another color on top, or in the shadows I'll do some more darker colors, and I'll just keep doing that until I feel like it's done. So I'll go ahead and do that and see how it goes when it gets done.